Welcome to empowerMINT's video on negotiating the best deal for your meeting. My name is Christine Shimasaki, but you can call me Shimo. Having spent 10 years in sales for Marriott Hotels and Resorts and 16 years as a sales and marketing executive for the San Diego Convention and Visitors Bureau, I have had many opportunities for negotiation, and I have to say, it was one of my favorite responsibilities. For me, the best negotiations were collaborative and required knowledge and skill on both sides of the table. Without successful negotiations, your meeting is destined to be in a hotel or meeting venue where either you overpay or jeopardize a partnership or the success of your meeting. This video will cover three main components to consider when negotiating your meeting, including 1. The desirability continuum, which includes 5 key factors. 2. Evaluating offers for the right fit. And 3. The meeting planning partners, the convention and visitors bureaus, and how they will be instrumental in helping planners negotiate the best deal. When it comes to negotiations, we typically think of negotiations as inspiring another person to do something they may not want to do. Consider instead that negotiations are really about a good dialogue with an understanding of both parties' needs and concerns. And this forms the basis for the best negotiation process. Now, before we begin, I'd like to share that I've always been fond of Stephen Covey's work. But it's been almost 10 years since I've taken any of the 7 Habits training, but his words still guide my actions. Begin with the end in mind. Negotiations begin with a clear picture of the desired outcome. As is with any endeavor, you've got to start with a plan, and often a budget, and know what you want. Otherwise, you'll never understand if your negotiations were successful. As a meeting planner, you often have internal customers, and it's always helpful to get on the same page. Some examples of desired outcomes may include one or a combination of growth in revenue from the meeting, generation of excitement for a new product or service, team building, education or skill development, and even cost savings from previous meetings. Prior identification of your internal customers' objectives will allow you to set up your negotiations to deliver on these outcomes. So let's get into the 3 components of negotiation. First of all, planners must understand the value of their meeting to a hotel, facility, or destination, and there are a number of factors which will affect your negotiation leverage. This leverage is important to understand and get a reality check, because let's face it, not all meetings are created equal. Some meetings are just more desirable than others, and hotels and facilities are in the business to maximize their revenue potential. So let's look at the 5 most important factors which affect your negotiation leverage, keeping in mind that while we look at these factors individually, the combination of these factors will be what's important, because you can counterbalance factors of lower leverage with more factors that have a higher leverage. Factor 1. How much meeting space will you require compared to the number of guest rooms you'll occupy? The most important revenue source for a hotel is the guest room, and many hotels need their meeting space to sell a certain percentage, let's say 60%, of their guest rooms. If you require all a hotel's meeting space and yet only use, say, 30% of their guest rooms, your negotiation leverage will be much, much lower. On the other hand, if you use only a small amount of meeting space and will occupy 60% of their guest rooms, then you have opened up the opportunity for the hotel to sell its meeting space to another group for more revenue potential, and therefore the higher your negotiation leverage. Factor 2. History of guest room pickup. Whether you're dealing with one hotel or a number of hotels for a large meeting, your history of guest room pickup or guest rooms actually utilized is one of the most important factors. If you have a history of contracting or blocking, say, 800 guest rooms and only pick up 600, this type of history will lower your leverage and most likely will attract attrition clauses in your contract, because your meeting will be considered high risk compared to the other end of the spectrum, where you're just plain attractive because you have a great track record. Understanding and keeping track of your history is extremely important and often not a practice amongst most novice and experienced planners. Once a meeting has concluded, it's always tempting to just move on and not obtain this documentation for your records. Later in this video, I'll talk further about your post-event report. Factor 3, time of the year. Every hotel and destination have times when hotels are historically less occupied. An obvious time may be the days immediately before or after a national holiday, but this factor is highly dependent on the type of hotel, whether it's business-oriented or a resort, and destination, when seasonalities come into play. For example, you are amongst the many when your meeting dates are, say for example, over a weekend in San Diego during summer vacation. This will have a lower negotiation leverage. Or another example is if you occur over a weekend in a resort destination like Palm Springs in the winter. Conversely, you have a greater leverage when you occupy meet periods, such as over holidays or weekends in a high-volume business transient hotel, like at the airport in Chicago. Another example might be during the weekday in low season, like January in Denver. Factor 4, arrival patterns. Again, negotiation leverage is lowered anytime the hotel or facility can't maximize occupancy. Most 2 to 3 day meetings arrive on either a Sunday or Wednesday, Thursday, and they fit nicely back to back. What upsets the apple cart is an arrival on a Monday or Tuesday, which blocks the hotel's ability to accommodate another group. However, as mentioned before, this leverage could be offset if the meeting occurs over a time of the year of lower occupancy, like holidays or right after a holiday when a Monday arrival would be accepted. Factor 5, total revenue potential. In addition to the guest rooms, other hotels or facility revenue potential is other highly valued, especially catered food and beverage, audiovisual, spa usage, and even lounge activity. If your meeting attendees have a high history of spending a lot of money in these areas, you will have a higher negotiation leverage if you can provide documentation in a post-event report. Besides the desirability factor, the second component is evaluating the offers and finding the right fit. When evaluating the offers, consider compared to what, rates, dates, space, and certainly value adds. Compared to what? Make sure that you consider multiple options and don't confirm a hotel to internal stakeholders before you get through the offers and negotiation. This may be a no-brainer, but according to a recent article by Jonathan Howe, this happens more than we think. When you have multiple offers, you can compare and contrast and increase your negotiation leverage. Competition is always a good thing. Rates. Understanding what's included in your room rate is important and often overlooked. Are you paying for net or commissionable rates? And are there any added fees to cover services from global sales offices? Now, the services of the brand's global sales offices and third-party planners should be highly valued and they're worth every penny. However, it's just important in the overall negotiation leverage to understand what's being covered. In addition, it's also prudent to understand what the range of rates the hotel is selling to its leisure or business transient guests over the dates of your meeting. While this is often difficult to obtain because your meeting may be planned and contracted years in advance, it's a good idea to have the conversation about whether there will be guest rooms offered below your negotiated rate. Dates. If the hotel offer is on a first or second option, meaning, are you first in line or are there other customers holding dates in front of you? Because this could decrease your negotiation leverage. Therefore, it's good to have date flexibility to increase your leverage. Meeting space. When it comes to meeting space, hotels are often reluctant to confirm specific meeting rooms because, again, they are trying to maximize their revenue potential and accommodate other groups. However, meeting rooms in a hotel are not all alike and have different ceiling heights, configurations, which can dictate meeting room set. So depending upon what's important to you, going back to your meeting outcomes, you may not want to roll the dice with what meeting rooms get assigned to you. In addition, the location and proximity of the meeting rooms may be important if attendees will be moving from one breakout to another, and if keeping your attendees together to network in between breakouts is important or not. And if you don't have enough food and beverage functions, such as a sit-down breakfast, group lunches, or catered reception dinners, then meeting room rental may be part of the hotel's proposal. Value adds. Once the rates, dates, and space is well understood, value adds often make the difference in finding the right fit. Comp guest rooms such as 1 per 50 or even 1 per 40 guest rooms pickup may be applicable. Discounted staff rooms such as 50% off the group rate. If you're taking care of special VIPs and that's important to your meeting outcomes, club level access or comp upgrades at group rates may be considered. If lowering your attendees' expense is important, you may want to consider negotiating comp parking, complimentary fitness center access, and even complimentary internet access. Or if your objective is education and skill development, it might be necessary to think about having additional meeting room power strips at the table for laptops, or AV package upgrades to really enhance your learning environment. As some examples to consider, these are just some examples to consider for value adds, but of course these value adds are highly dependent upon the desirability factors of your meeting, and it is key to negotiating all of these value adds up front versus after the contract is signed. Now, it's a given to think that negotiating the best deal from your meeting is complex and time-consuming. Therefore, we highly recommend connecting with a highly trained salesperson of a convention and visitors bureau who will be your local expert and help you find the right hotel that fits your needs, all for free. No commissions. So whether you are planning your own meeting or planning the meeting for your customer as a third-party service, the Convention and Visitors Bureau should be your first call in any destination. And of course, you can find the best convention and visitors bureaus right here in empowerMINT.com. After having a full understanding of your meeting's desired outcome and requirements, the Convention and Visitors Bureau destination experts will educate you on the type of hotels in their destination, help you understand the desirability of your meeting for the different types of hotels, and if you have a lot of meeting space requirements, they can advise you on which hotels have ample meeting space or suggest dates during a citywide convention's move-in dates. Convention and Visitors Bureaus have a good pulse of the existing business within the destination. They can also educate you on the seasonality of their destination if lower rates are important. Once the hotels are mutually identified, the Convention and Visitor Bureau will reach out to the identified hotels and request their proposals based upon your requirements. All of this legwork saving you time and money, and all for free. In addition, if you work with a Convention and Visitors Bureau, they maintain your post-event report or guest room pickup history for you in a national database maintained by Destination Marketing Association International. They are the trade association for Convention and Visitor Bureaus, and they're exclusive to the Convention and Visitor Bureau community. They will maintain your history, and they will receive it from the hotels after the meeting. And if you are the primary contact of a meeting, you now have access to view your post-event report. If you already are registered in empowerMINT, simply log in to access your profile. If a Convention and Visitor Bureau has reported your history, you will have immediate access to your post-event report. If you have not registered, you may do so at empowerMINT.com. As a registered user of empowerMINT, You will also have access to additional resources meeting planners have found valuable, and as they become available, we will be happy to send them to you. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, a good dialogue between and a thorough understanding of both parties' needs and concerns is the basis for the best negotiations process, and this understanding begins with the end in mind. Consideration of your meeting's desirability and the right fit in a hotel or facility. Complex or multifaceted negotiations can be facilitated with a Convention and Visitors Bureau, because the Convention and Visitor Bureau is trained to help both parties see the other side's point of view in the most open and complete fashion. A Convention and Visitor Bureau can help the planner understand how the hotels operate and evaluate business, and they can help the hotels understand the full, complete value of the business to the destination. So get started and use empowerMINT's Destination Finder to connect with a destination expert today. Again, thank you for visiting empowerMINT.com, and we look forward to serving you.